Welcome to our second week of Spooktacular as we count down the days not only to Halloween, but to the 10-year anniversary of Beautiful Demons, which I am extremely excited about. I cannot believe that it has been 10 years. It is so insane to me. I wanted to start with kind of a little bit of a spooky poem, just a very short one by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, and it is called The Haunted Chamber. Each heart has its haunted chamber where the silent moonlight falls. On the floor are mysterious footsteps. There are whispers along the walls. And mine at times is haunted by phantoms of the past, as motionless as shadows by the silent moonlight cast. Just a little bit of mood setting. I love this poem too. I am going to be going over today some of the favorite haunted destinations that I have seen in various spooky sort of TV shows and different things like that, things I've read about online that I would love to get a chance to go and see. And I'm also going to be reading a little bit of a prologue of an as yet unannounced, unpublished book called The Haunting of Luna Day that hopefully will come out maybe next year during Summer of Ghost Stories if we get a chance. I had read for you guys a piece of another book that belongs in this sort of set of 3 books, which is called The Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw. So this would be part of not exactly a trilogy because each of these books is standalone, but they all have a little bit of a ghost story element. So you've got The Haunting of Luna Day will be the 3rd book. The first one will be The Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw. And then the middle book, the 2nd book, is called The Possession of Mira Black. And that book is kind of loosely inspired by a little bit of an older movie called Gothica by that has Halle Berry in it. If you've never seen it, you should definitely give it a watch because it is fantastic. So those 3 books are in various stages of being written, and I had hoped to write and finish them last year and just didn't get a chance. So hopefully once the Demon series is over or somewhere around there, we're going to get a chance to finish those books out. So lots of fun things coming, but I thought I would, since we're doing ghost stories today, I figured it would be kind of fun to pull out that a little bit of a prologue that some of you have heard before on a live, as well as a never heard before chapter excerpt from later in the book. So lots of fun stuff. And this was a story, The Haunting of Luna Day, that I had mentioned before. The idea came from a dream. So this was a story that came from a dream that I had about a girl who was dressed all in black, that had long black hair, walking in a room that was very like pink and white. And she was touching these clothes that obviously were not hers because it was like pink cardigan sweaters and yellow sweaters and pretty floral dresses and stuff. And it just obviously was not her room. So it was really a dream that I just kind of woke up from and was like, I have to explore this story. And I actually have written about half of this book and I just want to finish it someday, but there's so many other ideas and just never enough time. So I will definitely be going through, did I say we? I don't know. Jess said we co-writer. No, I never do co-writers. I've never worked with a co-writer and I don't think it would suit me. So I think I was saying like we have gone through this and we've talked about this book, but I don't know sometimes I say we in regards to George because we talk about everything, but I don't know what I said. However, I wanted to show you guys too my little t-shirt, which is kind of hiding here, but I found this little Jack Skellington one, and I absolutely love it. If you've never seen The Nightmare Before Christmas, it is a really good movie. We finally watched it last year with Andrew for the first time, and he actually really liked it. So we're probably going to watch it again this week. Let me know in the comments. So just let me know if you have ever seen that movie, or if you have any Halloween traditions. I know a lot of people have Christmas traditions that are like the movies you watch every year at Christmas, or things like that, TV shows that you watch every year. We always watch the Polar Express and things like that. But for Halloween, we are hopefully going to start a tradition of watching The Nightmare Before Christmas, because I absolutely loved it. And this is kind of like a chibi version of Jack Skellington. And these, of course, came from Tea Turtle, who has an official collaboration with Disney, and they do have one with Jack and Sally both sitting up here at the top that I really, really wanted to get, and it was already sold out in my size. So maybe next year, or maybe it'll come back in stock, but I just absolutely loved this one. So yeah, it's super fun. And it was so much fun on Saturday for those of you that joined me watching a movie with Teleparty. I have never done this before, but it is a fun experience, and I really, really want to do it again. So if you're interested and you couldn't make it this past Saturday, we will do it again, because we had such a great small crowd there. And I think we had a really, really fun time. We watched the movie Rebecca, and it was probably about maybe 10 to 15 of us watching it. And we had with Teleparty, it used to be called Netflix Party, but basically you get to do it for free, and you start it all together, and you get a little chat like you guys are chatting here on YouTube. You get a chat on the side, but you're all watching the movie together. And so it was really fun, because we got to talk about what part we're at in the story structure, and people noticing little things, and like little guesses about what's going to happen next, or thoughts about what someone said. And it was just really, really fun. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was really fun, and I would love to do it again. I actually would really love to do it with a really scary movie. So if any of you guys are available, maybe this upcoming weekend for Halloween, and you just want to watch it together, something actually scary, because we tried to keep it something that was like PG for 13 or so. But I would love to do something even scarier. So we will see. All right. So I am going to read for you guys the prologue to this book, The Haunting of Luna Day. And then I'm going to share with you I already have it kind of pulled up on my other screen, some of my favorite like haunted destinations that I would love to go to visit for myself. And we are going to have a bonus giveaway today. I'm not going to give it away on the live here, but if you get a chance to speak up and leave a comment, I will be giving away I will be giving away a set of 3 books. So we have Beautiful Demons, Inner Demons, and Bitter Demons. I'm going to give away those 3 paperbacks on the replay sometime before Friday. So if you're watching the replay or commenting on the live, you have entered if you leave a comment, and I will give those away on Friday's live. So another thing that we're going to be doing today is I had wanted to do, and I mentioned this last week, a writing story live. And I didn't get a chance this weekend because so many things were going on to post the image that I wanted. So we're going to do it on Wednesday. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you a couple of different images, and I want you to help me pick which one we'll use for the writing prompt. And whichever one you guys help me pick is what we will use. And how that will work is basically we'll pick one of these 2 images, and then in the Coven and on my Facebook page and blog, I will post this image that we picked today. And then you guys can use your imagination to come up with basically basically like the beginning of the story, some kind of writing prompt where you say, oh, she's looking out the window because this or whatever. And then on Wednesday live here during our normal lives, I will write that story and you guys will help me come up with ideas if I get stuck, but I will share my screen just like I'm doing with this. And so you guys will be able to see me, but you will also be able to see what I'm writing, and it'll be kind of fun. So it'll be really, really nice and, an adventure. Coming to the Witch's Key was kind of the closest I've ever done to writing a story live, because I would write it the day before and then read it the next day. But this will be actual live writing. And then once it's finished, I will post it to my blog for you guys to read or grab. So that'll be fun too. So that will be Wednesday. It was going to be today, but like I said, I forgot to post the prompt early enough, and I didn't want to just post it this morning because I wanted to give people time. So that'll be fun. All right, so let's get started with some reading. So like I said, if you're just joining us, this is, again, another prologue and excerpt from a book that has not been published yet or finished called The Haunting of Luna Day that came to me in a dream. And I have read pieces of this prologue. It has changed over time. And then the excerpt comes from later in the book. So the prologue is the very beginning. And then the excerpt that is coming is from later in the book, like at the end of Act 1. So maybe like chapter 8 or 9. So here is the prologue first. I hated Evelyn March. She was everything I'm not. Perky, beautiful, popular, rich. She was the type of girl who showed up at school every day with her perfectly manicured nails to match whatever trendy outfit she'd copied off Instagram the weekend before. Her strawberry blonde hair straightened and cascading down her back, or arranged in a seemingly effortless, messy bun. I'd once tried to replicate that look in the privacy of my own bathroom and ended up literally having to cut the elastic band out of my hair. We were opposites in every way, and I resented her for that. I used to sit in the back of the classroom criticizing her every move and swearing I would never be like her, and at the same time, secretly hating her because I would never be like her. To be honest, I felt that way about most of the elite crowd at Mason High, but since Evelyn was at the top of the food chain, she was the one I hated most. But then something strange happened. Evelyn March disappeared. One day she was there, bright and bubbly and condescending, and the next, she was just gone. I'd be lying if I didn't admit that for just one tiny second, I'd thought, good riddance. But in my defense, I didn't know her back then. I didn't understand the things she'd been through, or even understand that someone like Evelyn struggled at all. If she was gone, that just meant one less person completely ignoring my existence on a daily basis. I noticed her disappearance the way one might notice a button missing from an old coat you haven't worn in years. It doesn't look right and it's slightly unsettling, but it doesn't really have any impact on your life. Or at least that's what I tried to believe. Someone said she'd run away. She'd gotten into some kind of fight with her mom the night before, and she'd run off with some college guy she'd been dating in secret. What did I care? She was spoiled and entitled and took off to prove a point. See, I can be a rebel too. This is what happens when I'm not the center of attention. She would come home when things got tough or she ran out of money, and all would be right with the world. I had more important things to think about, like my upcoming calculus exam and how the hell I was going to afford to move away from this miserable town as soon as I graduated. Only destiny has a way of finding us, even when we turn off all the lights and pretend no one is home. And my destiny was more closely tied to Evelyn March's disappearance than I could have ever known back then. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to start at the beginning, the day Evelyn went missing, the day both our lives changed forever. So that, and yes, that was, I tried not to smile, but Debbie said, did I just hear Evie? And yes, you did. Kids, mom life. So that is the prologue. And then the rest of this part is written. And then this next section is, so basically there's, quite a bit of little things that happen. And then they go to this party on Friday night. And there are definitely some experiences that happen, some like Luna is not the kind of girl who usually goes to these popular kids kind of parties. And she has a pretty bad, terrible experience and a run-in with Evelyn at this party. And she leaves feeling kind of lonely and rejected. So this is her coming back to school on Monday. Yes, parties. This is something I've talked about before. It's kind of like the id, people talk about your id. It's like there are certain things that most authors, and you'll see it happen with, directors and movies, like screenwriters and stuff like that. You see it with Stephen King's books all the time. You see it with Nora Roberts and other authors, is there are just certain things that you get drawn to and that you want to explore in different ways and write in lots of different ways. And maybe one day we'll have to do a video about all the ones that are mine that you guys can get. So like necklaces, keys, car accidents, parties, like where you don't feel like you're the popular girl, that kind of thing. That this all comes from experiences in my past, and I explore it in different ways in different books, and that's really fun for me. So it's interesting that you guys pull it up too as well. So this is just, I have it labeled as chapter excerpt because there's no real chapter name to this yet. And this part is not at all edited. So this is very rough. So just, go with the flow. I stared at the brick school building and groaned. I had no choice, really, bad juju or not. Since she woke up this morning, she's been having a bad feeling. I couldn't miss that class, so I marched inside and found my seat just as the first period bell rang. Of course, I managed to knock over Presley Reagan's morning latte with my backpack on the way in. I muttered an apology and grabbed a handful of paper towels from the sink in the corner. She grimaced and shooed me away. I've got it, thanks, she snapped. Sorry, I said again. If I could have crawled into a hole and died, I probably would have. I was sure she and Evelyn would have a field day over this later. I glanced up to see if the two of them were huddled close like they usually were, giggling over some gossip from the party this weekend, or laughing at the weird loser girl who'd spilled the coffee yet again. But there was no sign of Evelyn March. Her seat was empty, which was unusual. Evelyn was one of those perfect attendance kind of girls who took pride in sitting on the front row and always being the center of attention. It wasn't like her to miss a test, especially in Mr. Donahue's class. Her absence distracted me through the entire exam. I couldn't explain it, but it didn't feel right that she was gone. It felt unsettling, as if her absence was somehow connected to my dark mood. I turned my test in just as the bell rang, knowing I'd bombed it, and ran from the room. I needed to get some air. I didn't feel right. Maybe I was coming down with the flu or something. All I knew was that I wanted to get the hell out of that building for a few minutes. I could hardly breathe. I pushed through the nearest door leading outside and leaned back against the brick wall of the building. I slowly inhaled and exhaled, waiting for the anxiety in my chest to disappear, but it was stuck there like a pill that wouldn't quite go down. I closed my eyes and breathed in and out like my mom had taught me, attempting to cleanse my energy. Hell, I even considered sitting down in the dirt and getting into lotus position for a few minutes. I was that desperate. But when I opened my eyes, instead of calm, clear energy, I felt cold. I'm talking full-on winter chill, even though it had to have been at least 75 degrees outside this morning. I glanced around, rubbing my arms and knowing with sudden certainty that I was being watched. That's when I saw her. Evelyn March stood at the edge of the parking lot, just staring at me. She was still wearing the same clothes she'd been wearing Friday night at the party, which was beyond strange. She rarely ever wore the same outfit twice, much less so close together. Her perfect blonde hair was matted and wild. It was hard to tell from this distance, but it looked like she'd been crying. What the hell had happened to her? I didn't know whether to wave to her or run away and pretend I hadn't seen her at all. It wasn't like we'd ever been friends, and she'd never once been nice to me. But in that moment, I felt her loneliness so deeply it echoed my own. I didn't know what else to do, so I lifted an awkward hand and waved. At first, she just stared at me, her eyes slowly widening. Then her shoulders slumped, and she closed her eyes and shook her head. Her lips moved, but if she said something, I was too far away to hear. Finally, she laughed and kicked at the dirt in front of her. When she finally looked at me again, a strange, sad smile played across her lips, and she seemed to sigh. Slowly, she raised 2 fingers to her forehead and gave me a casual salute. Weird. I'd never seen her act like this before, and it made absolutely no sense. She obviously needed some kind of help, and even though I was probably the last person she wanted to talk to right now, I couldn't just leave her out here alone like this. I took a few steps toward her, but a car pulled into the parking lot right at that moment, and I turned my head only for a second to see who it was. When I turned back to Evelyn, though, she was gone. It was as if she had simply vanished into thin air. I squinted against the sun's light, searching, but there was no sign of her at all. I exhaled again, my breath an icy fog despite the heat. I shivered. The dark energy I'd been feeling all day finally settled somewhere deep in my belly. I rushed back inside, wondering who I should tell about Evelyn. Something had obviously happened to her, and despite the way she and her friends had treated me at that party Friday night, I couldn't bring myself to ignore her. But as I made my way toward the front office, the rumors about Evelyn were already swirling around the hallways. I slowed and listened as I heard one person after another mention her name in excited whispers. Evelyn March had never come home Friday night. At first, her parents assumed she'd stayed over at a friend's house without telling them. But then Saturday morning, she'd missed a 5K charity run her parents had been working on for months. They were worried, but it wasn't the first time Evelyn had ditched them. By Sunday morning, though, when she still hadn't checked in, her parents had finally called the police. No one seemed to be taking it seriously. Another grab at attention by a girl prone to drama. That's what everyone said in those early days. The most popular theory was that she'd been secretly hooking up with some guy from the nearby university, and they'd run away together after Evelyn had a fight with her mom. She would come home in a day or two with a nose ring or a tattoo or something, proving once again that she was above the law and still the coolest girl in town. It wasn't the first time she'd pulled a stunt like that for attention, but I knew better. Evelyn March had not skipped town or decided to shack up with some guy. Evelyn March was dead, and I had just seen her ghost. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, that's so much fun. So that is a forthcoming story, and it might and will possibly change quite a bit before. But just to see a story in progress, a little bit of a, I don't know, preview of a book that might come next year. Oh, there's so many stories, you guys. I need to get back into writing full time. Like, hopefully, this announcement with Fate Surrender and finishing that, and there's still a few more things yet to come to announce before the week is over. There will be hopefully lots of really good books coming next year because the ideas are flowing and things are, getting there. And by the way, thank you guys so crazy much for all the support with Fate Surrender. There are already hundreds of pre-orders for this book, and it was in the top 10 of all the paranormal and fantasy books on Apple Books, and I was number 1 in post-apocalyptic young adult books and several other categories this weekend, so on Amazon, and number 1 in young adult books over on Kobo. I am just blown away. So I just really, really appreciate that so much. Last time I looked this morning, it still had not gone live on Barnes & Noble. I do not know what is up with them. I have an email out to my rep there and have not heard back from them. So a little bit disappointing because I uploaded that book on Thursday and I'm just waiting for it. So this is not something that I can, unfortunately make happen once I upload the books. The vendors get them up whenever they get them up. But I was thrilled because it has been years since, obviously, I think the last book in this series came out in 2016. So I know it has been a long time and many of you are waiting, but I sincerely appreciate all the support. Just to see like all those hundreds of pre-orders already coming in was such a huge, I don't know, just like I felt so supported and so loved. And I just really, really, really appreciate that. So thank you very much for all the love and support. If you have not heard the announcement yet, Fate Surrender, which is the final book in my Eternal Sorrows series, is up for pre-order. It is coming out on November 23rd, and I am in the final stages of the final read-throughs and getting it out to beta readers and then out to my editor. So there will be a flurry of activity that is happening over the next month. And I will keep you guys updated, but the main thing you need to know is that if you pre-order, it will magically appear on your device at midnight on November 23rd, the week of Thanksgiving. So if you need something extra to read while you're off for work, or if you are going to visit some family and you just know that you're going to need a break, then you'll have something to read over the holidays there. And there are other surprises yet to come in our Spooktacular Halloween Party, including a bonus giveaway today of all 3 of the first 3 paperbacks of the Demons series. And some of the giveaways have finished already, but there are always a few ongoing at any time. I am giving away many things this week on Thursday as I celebrate the 10-year anniversary of Beautiful Demons, so be on the lookout for that. We will not be going live on Thursday because it's not a normal day for us, but I probably will still upload a video either here or over on my blog or in the Coven or Facebook page, just because I want to give a huge shout out and thank you. And there will be a big surprise coming for that. And again, the giveaway for the grand prize is still open, and that is going to be 14 signed paperbacks from me. So definitely make sure you enter. You can enter that every single day. And yeah. Good stuff going on there. Lots of fun. I hope you guys are enjoying the Spooktacular so far. I am really having fun with it. So I hope that you guys are too. So we are going to continue on with some discussion about some haunted destinations. So Vanessa asked, are the other 2 announcements both on Saturday? No. So one of the big announcements will be coming on Friday, and the other one will be coming on Saturday. So we're going to have one on Friday, one on Saturday. And just to let you guys know, I had toyed around with doing 2 p.m. on Saturday instead of 4 p.m., but we're going to stick to our 4 p.m. time just because I think it's going to be better for us just to stick to the normal time. If that time doesn't work for you because it's a Saturday, then you can definitely catch the replay, but we're going to stick to the 4 p.m. time, just like these lives have been, just to make it easier, because we didn't have as big a crowd on Saturday for the movie watch along. And I thought maybe it's just a hard time because it's kind of early in the day for the people on the West Coast. So 4 p.m. on Saturday. I will be dressed up, and I will give you guys an opportunity to dress up yourselves and also post some pictures of your dress up, as well as if you have any children at home or pets at home that you are dressing up, or any decorations that you want to share. Particularly because some people will not be trick-or-treating this year. We're still going to be trick-or-treating because our neighborhood is doing some social distance trick-or-treating and things like that. But I know that some areas are not trick-or-treating. So we will have our own little fun party here on Saturday. And trust me when I say that the announcement coming on Saturday is one that you do not want to miss. So we will just leave it at that. So, haunted destinations. So number 1 is the Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia. So this is one, these are going to be kind of all over, but I felt like I had to include some kind of prison or penitentiary because there are some crazy things that have happened in some of these prisons, like horrific things, I'm sure, beyond what we can understand. But when I first became aware of this particular prison in Philadelphia, it was because of the ghost hunters. Except now I'm going to forget the name, like Zach Baggins. And what is that show? Because it's not called Ghost Hunters; it's called Ghost Adventures, right? So let me know in the comments if you have seen Ghost Adventures. It used to be on the Travel Channel. I think that those 3 guys have since kind of broken up and gone their own ways. But I always loved Zach Baggins or Bagans, I don't know, but because he's so like over the top of a host, it's like you have the ghost hunter guys, and those guys are always like very serious and like, well, we're going to debunk this and we're going to make sure it's not real. And like Zach would go in there and he'd be like, oh my gosh, it's a ghost. He's like going crazy with stuff. And I just always think that is super fun. Ghost Hunters did it too. So lots of places, I think, I know that it's kind of a common place that a lot of people like to go to because it is so incredibly haunted. One of the main kind of selling points to the Eastern State Penitentiary, I don't know, whichever way you want to say it, is that this was a prison that opened in the 1800s and was a place where they really put so many prisoners into isolation, where to the point where they would put bags over their heads, and when they would go to and from their cells, they would not allow them to see anyone else. So it drove a lot of these prisoners insane. And because of it, it was a lot of people believe, because of the extreme isolation that they went through, a lot of these prisoners after they passed on have stayed. Dun, dun, dun. So I'm actually I wrote down, or copied, I would say, copy and pasted from various other sites, some actual facts about these places. So if you are, I will just give a little bit of a warning. If you are more sensitive to scary/haunted things, we are going to be talking about haunted things and people dying. So just a little bit of a warning there if you want to peace out on us, which is fine because I know not everybody loves it. So this says the castle-like Eastern State Penitentiary took solitary confinement to new levels when it was built in 1829. Prisoners lived alone, exercised alone, and ate alone. And when an inmate left his cell, a guard would cover his head with a hood so he couldn't see or be seen. The prison had to abandon its solitary system due to overcrowding in 1913, although the forms of punishment did not get any less severe. Chaining an inmate's tongue to his wrist is one example, before it closed for good in 1970. The site now welcomes thousands of visitors every year, both for its museum and Halloween celebrations. I bet they won't be doing that this year, but reported paranormal happenings have included disembodied laughter, shadowy figures, and pacing footsteps. If you go back and somebody said it's actually still going, which I think is awesome. Who said it? It's Elizabeth. It's still on Thursday nights on the Travel Channel, which is really cool. I started watching them a lot on Netflix, and I think they were mostly replays because we do not have any cable now. So it's like, oh my gosh. But if you go back and actually watch the Ghost Adventures they might have gone to Eastern State Penitentiary twice, but the original one they went to, they are in an area like this with these cells, and he actually gets on camera a dark figure that kind of like goes, it's almost like it's running, and it looks like it kind of like is walking towards something, and then it just disappears. And I don't know, y'all, I love this kind of thing. I am all about the scary stuff. I am all about like looking things up and trying to figure out if it's real, trying to find the photographs, trying to find all that stuff. I love it so much. So I like watched that scene so many times because it looks like it's one of the only times in that series that I feel like it really looks like something happened. And you never know if all that stuff is made up. Probably a lot of it is. But for me, I was very into it, and it was pretty cool. So the next one is the Catacombs in Paris. So obviously, if you've ever seen the movie, let me know in the comments. As above, so below. So this is kind of a newer-ish movie, came out a few years ago, and it is set, I believe, in the Catacombs in Paris, but it's definitely set in the Catacombs. And there's just something about going beneath a city where there are bones stacked up that is just like, I would probably pee my pants, but it's just one of those like places that I would love to visit. If I could take my sister to the Catacombs and we could like be left there overnight, I think it would be crazy. So I don't know. I just think that would be super fun. So Christabelle said, I almost got a job at the Stanley Hotel where they filmed the remake of The Shining. Oh my gosh. I think it's haunted there. That would be crazy. Woo. Laura says, Interview with a Vampire had wonderful scenes there too. You know, I don't even remember that movie very much, but yes, just the fact that it is underground scares me too. So here's what it says about the Catacombs. After a prolonged bout of heavy rains flooded and unearthed the overcrowded Les Innocents, forgive me, cemetery in the spring of 1780, a wave of rotting corpses tumbled onto the property next door. According to the Smithsonian Magazine, this horrifying event started a 12-year project to move bodies from Paris's cemeteries down into the city's former limestone quarries, eventually packing the underground tunnels with some 6 million bodies. Today, about a mile of the subterranean labyrinth is open to visitors who can take tours of the tunnels and artfully arranged displays of bones. Some of you may not know this, but I was on a ghost tour in Savannah, which is only about an hour and a half away from where I live in Charleston, which Charleston is actually on a lot of lists of like most haunted cities in America. And George and I we took a beer like pub tour that was a haunted pub tour, and that was super fun. If any of you ever come to visit Charleston, I'll take you on a pub tour. Let me know. But when we went to Savannah one time, went on a ghost tour, and they were saying that there are actually catacombs beneath Savannah as well, or not exactly catacombs, but during some kind of plague or something, they closed some bodies up underneath the city of Savannah, which is why a lot of people think that it is scary, spooky, haunted places. I don't know. It's really crazy. But I do think that that is a scary place, and to be left down there at night. It does say they're open, but I wonder if they're open at night or only during the day. If you know, let me know. All right, so number 3, and I'm not gonna. I did look up how to pronounce some of these, but then I forgot to look this one up. So Zunantunich Belize. I don't know how to say that. I did look up many of them, but I forgot to look this one up. Zunantunich Belize. Deep in the jungles of Belize, less than a mile from the Guatemala border, darn, I meant to look this up, you guys, I'm sorry, is an ancient Mayan ruin that has sat abandoned for the past millennium. An earthquake caused the original civilization to crumble, but the complex was rediscovered by explorers in the 1890s. Since then, this place has served as an important archaeological site, under the radar tourist attraction, and hotbed of ghostly sightings. The ancient city is said to be haunted by one female ghost, a black-haired lady with red glowing eyes. She was first spotted by one of the earliest research teams in 1893 and has been spotted near El Castillo, the tallest building in the complex. Many times since then, And no one knows exactly who the so-called stone lady is, but many speculate that she may have been a human sacrifice whose death ritual was performed on top of the El Castillo pyramid. Dun, dun, dun. I definitely Shunan Tunich. Shunan Tunich. Mystic lets us know. I knew I was pronouncing that one wrong. So Shunan Tunich. Is that correct? Thank you so much for that. So this, I think, is not only a beautiful place to go, and there's so much history and so like ancient history here. So I think that would be really cool. And I'm drawn to not only places where you're enclosed, which I think would be scary with the catacombs, but also places that are so open like this. Because we often think about like hauntings taking place inside of houses or, asylums or different things like that. But the thought of like camping out here or being out under the moonlight and having some kind of ghostly experience where there's really like, it's not like you can leave the house, you're like on top of a pyramid. I don't know. It just seems very like crazy. And all right, George, what was the movie that we went to see where they're like on the pyramid and then the like vines and stuff get them? Anybody know what I'm talking about? George almost walked out of that movie. I cannot think what it's called. If anybody knows, let me know. It's like the movie where the friends go and they're like traveling, but they get stuck kind of on top of one of these pyramids and they can't leave. And there's like vines involved. The Ruins. Thank you, Jenna. Yes, The Ruins. George was almost like, we need to leave right now. He did not like that movie. It was not his favorite. We will just say. So I did look this one up and now I'm going to say it wrong. Aokigahara Forest. So this one is in Japan. Aokigahara. And I looked it up and I was like listening to different pronunciations. So I will just say the best I can. Yeah, George says he almost threw up. This one is known as the Suicide Forest. So you've probably heard about this before because there are lots and lots of different YouTubers and different things that have gone to this place. But it says this seemingly serene forest at the foot of Mount Fuji has a tormented past, colloquially known as Suicide Forest. Aokigahara has been the site of 500 reported suicides since the 1950s. Some blame this trend on the forest's association with demons in Japanese mythology. Others point toward large underground deposits of iron, which interfere with compasses and make it easy to get lost. In fact, many hikers will mark their path with tape or string to make it easier to find their way back out again. And yes, this one is based on a movie also, or this one has a movie based in this, and it has Natalie Dormer in it, who is one of the more famous kind of actresses from the Game of Thrones series. And we watched this one, and she has a twin sister. So there's kind of like some twin stuff, which we were talking about my id stuff. And twins for me is always a thing. I always love to write about twins, but anyway, that movie was good, but I felt so much like it could have been better. It was good, but I feel like it almost was great and just not quite. And so immediately after watching that movie, I think it is just called The Forest, right? Is that right? I had to start writing another story. And one of my beta readers, I started telling her about this new book I started writing. And of course, this was a couple of years ago. And she immediately wanted me to write it. So this was a story about girl who, and this is not young adult, this would be an adult sort of series, but it's basically about a girl who has these sort of premonition type dreams, and her father and brother are kind of like searchers, I guess. They're not exactly archaeological. archaeologists, but they do go searching for things. Like they're kind of like treasure hunters, so to speak. And so they often do jobs for this like rich guy. And it turns out the girl, I named her Lorelei, but then I used that name again in a different book. So I would have to change her name. But basically she has this dream that her brother and father are trapped in a forest, but she doesn't know where they are. And so she goes to the rich guy who runs this big, I don't know, his father's building this big collection. I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this, but his father runs this big company, but he has his own private collection of different like little things that her father has been treasure hunting for him. And we find out that she used to be engaged to this really rich guy's oldest son. And she basically goes to him and says, I need to know where you've sent my father and my brother because they're in trouble. And so she convinces him to charter or get their charter plane, their company jet or whatever. And they go to this forest, and it's set in the Aokigahara Forest. And they have to try to find her brother and father who have gotten lost in the forest. Or have they? So anyway, it was going to be like a 3-book sort of trilogy about them in this forest. So kind of an interesting little thing. So Natalie Dormer, and tell me who she played in Game of Thrones, because I always forget everybody's name. She becomes queen. Oh, spoiler. Never mind. Too many spoilers. Let it go. Never mind. All right. So anyway, that I think is going to be a cool series to write if I ever get to it. Another one from the United States is the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose. So this one definitely has a very interesting and strange history. And it's just one of those houses that you actually can get into and go and tour. So I just think it would be super cool to go visit this. Let me know in the comments if any of you ever have done this, because it's very interesting to me. So following the death of her husband, rifle magnate William Wirt Winchester, of course, we recognize that from, guns and so forth. Sarah Winchester commissioned a Victorian labyrinth designed to repel the vengeful spirits of the lives taken by her husband's guns. The sprawling Queen Anne-style mansion, comprising 4 stories, 160 rooms, 10,000 window panes, and 47 stairways, is appointed with curious elements like staircases leading directly into the ceiling, and windows opening into secret passageways. This year, the Winchester House is hosting a lineup of activities. I don't know what year this was from, but at some year they did this for Halloween, including a themed dinner, trick-or-treat trail for kids, and Unhinged, which is touted as an immersive horror experience. So this was something that they did before. I don't know which year. They're probably not doing it this year, but interesting. So Sarah Winchester, the widow of the guy who created, all of these guns and rifles and stuff, she had this complex that so many people had died from these guns that if she didn't keep building this house, they would come after her. So she continued to put all of their family fortune basically into constantly building this house. And so now people believe that the workers and things that had built this house and all of the spirits that wanted revenge for the deaths by a gun and so forth, other things, haunt this house. So it's really, really interesting. But one of the main things that you hear a lot of people talk about is that, because there was so much construction going on for decades in this house, building for 24/7, like they could not stop building. And it was like a thing for her. They had to continue building all the time. And now they say you can still hear the sound of construction going on. Interesting. So Evelyn says she had her own ritual room and tried to confuse the spirits by having stowaways and doors to nowhere. Just it's like not only it's like, was she crazy? Was she completely cuckoo? Probably. She spent millions of dollars creating this crazy maze of a house, but maybe it really was haunted. I don't know. But you can actually go in. And like I said, I'm sure they're not doing anything in particular this year for it because of the COVID-19 stuff. But maybe in the future you can go there for a Halloween thing. So Emmy's Creative Corner says the basement was super creepy. And she was a spiritualist. Very interesting. So I would love to go there. That is definitely one of my top ones. Another one that is here in the United States. There are so many, you guys, but I had to kind of choose. I tried to choose some that were international, but this one is obviously a United States one. Is here in New York. Ronald DeFeo Jr. shot 6 members of his family on November 13th, 1974, in what is now known as the Amityville Horror House. But the haunting of 112 Ocean Avenue was relatively unknown until the Lutz family bought the house in 1975. The Lutzes reported extreme paranormal activity from the moment they moved in, including uncovering the creepily hidden Red Room, doors slamming by themselves, and mysterious voices demanding a priest blessing the home to get out. The family lasted 26 days in the house before moving out. So this house, obviously, there is a very famous movie called The Amityville Horror that really creeped me out when I was a child, terrified me. Now, some people say that a lot of it was a hoax, that it was like made up by this family so that they could get, write books and so forth about it. So I don't know. And there are other people that say, if you go and listen to, there's some really good podcasts called like the last podcast on the left. If you've never listened to that, it's really funny. They kind of go extreme with things. So I can't really binge listen to the last podcast on the left because it sometimes goes too deep into stuff. But you can find a lot of podcasts that have covered this house, and not just what happened to the Lutz family and, that what happened to them when they were living there, which is kind of where the haunting stuff goes, but also what really happened with Ronald DeFeo Jr., because a lot of people believe that it was not exactly as it seems what happened to him, that he didn't just kill everybody in his family, that there was some kind of other things happening. Revelin says, can I share a YouTube link for the castle in my city? Absolutely, go for it. If you guys are interested in this, Revelin's going to share a link for us. But I do think that there is something strange that has happened in this house. And even if it was just something that people tried to make worse by doing movies about it, I don't know, but I would love to go and see this house for sure. Oh no, Chris says, my dad locked me in a room and made me watch Amityville Horror. That's terrible. I'm so sorry. I don't really want anybody to have to watch something scary. It's like, it should be a kind of a fun experience. So I'm sorry to hear that. But yes, Kelly, there are stories about maybe it was demonic possession is why he killed his family. So I don't know. It's definitely an interesting story. So go listen to the last podcast on the left if you're interested in hearing that, because you hear a lot about the family that moved in and got haunted, but you don't hear as much about what happened with the original killing. And I think there are some interesting things that happen there. All right, 2 more. The Adelaide Asylum in Australia. So I had to pick an asylum because you just have to, right? I had recently played through a game called The Evil Within that I really loved. And it's kind of set in an asylum type setting. And I feel like you gotta include it. And I was talking to you guys about the Possession of Mira Black, which is also kind of set in a similar type, not an asylum exactly, but in a place for people who have tried to commit suicide type things. So I have an asylum type story coming up. So A village within a village, the Adelaide Asylum is a huge complex that opened in 1867. Over 13,000 people were estimated to have died there, and not always due to natural causes. Tours of the site mention the ghost of Nurse Carrie, who is supposed to haunt the women's wing. The visitors have shared tales of unexpected sensations, being touched, feeling cold, drafts running through the building for no apparent reason, and loud bangs from parts of the building that are unoccupied. So supposedly this is a super, super haunted place. So I definitely would love to get a chance to go. Plus, I want to just go to Australia. So I was like, ooh, this would be a fun haunted destination to go to. The Lizzie Borden house is still standing. Somebody had asked, is it still standing? And it is still standing. So, Diane says, I grew up 20 minutes from Amityville. The entire town had paranormal activity vibes. Oh my gosh. So it says, Angela says 13,000 deaths. How many years was it open? Yeah. So it says 1867 that it opened, but it doesn't say in the article that I grabbed from what year it was closed, but 13,000 is a lot of deaths. Like, I don't know. That's a lot. So I agree. Let's go. Let's go there. I think we should go. So I have one more. And of course there are so many more haunted places, but this is another one another one I had to look up the way to pronounce it. And I still probably am going to mispronounce it, but it's Lawang Sewu. And it means 1,000 doors. So this place was built in 1917 by the Dutch East Indian Railway Company. During World War II, the Japanese occupied Indonesia and Lawang Sewu was taken over by Japanese forces. The basement of Building B was used as a prison. The inmates were treated harshly, with many of them being executed. When Semarang was taken by the Dutch in October 1945, Dutch soldiers used the tunnel underneath the A building to sneak into the city. A battle ensued and numerous Indonesian soldiers were killed, as well as 5 employees. So this is believed to be the most haunted place in Indonesia, with many tourists visiting the beautiful building to hopefully catch a glimpse of the paranormal. Headless spirits are known to wander its corridors and grounds, and the basement in Building B is believed to be haunted by a vampiric ghost known locally as Pontianak. So there's a vampire ghost here, which is one of the reasons that I really want to go. The most popular and often cited spirit is the Dutch woman, and she is believed to have committed suicide there and was captured on film during a TV program. So I do not have an actual link, but if you search for Lawang Sewu, probably saying it wrong, you will find some YouTube videos of a few years ago, there was a similar to like Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures kind of thing, where they took, a crew in there and they were watching, and they had a guy like sitting down in the basement, I think of Building B. And you can watch him sitting there, and there's like a long corridor, and down at the other end through a door, he's just kind of like sitting there in the dark, whatever. And all of a sudden you do see something come up, and he starts making this like he's like waving to the people that are watching him, because he's like, something's happening here. And when you see him do this, you see something come up into the doorway, and it does not look like a person. It looks ghostly. And I was watching it at one point online, and I was like, so go, if you want to be kind of scared because it looks like actual real evidence of a ghost on video, go look up this place, because it scared me and it was really, really interesting. So I would definitely go check it out. But I definitely think that haunted stuff is funny or fun to go to, but when you actually are in a haunted place or you have encounters with ghosts, it is not as much fun. I have had a couple of personal encounters that I feel like were ghostly encounters. And I will share those with you if we ever get a chance next summer to do the Summer of Ghost Stories, because I want to save some of those more personal stories, because some of them are really, really crazy and true, very true. So interesting stuff. Thank you guys for joining me for that. And I think it would be, I saw some people saying like we should go on a writer's retreat at a haunted location. I would love it. And they say that you're going to be able now to, so Stephen King's old house is actually going to be something, I don't know that it's haunted, but it actually is a place where he wrote a lot of twisted stories. So, you know, maybe it's got some juju for that kind of thing. You're actually going to be able to rent that out, but I haven't ever seen anyone list the prices for that. So we'll have to see how much that costs. But another thing that I wanted to do before we go today is I have 2 different photos that I would like for you guys to choose which one we will use for a writing prompt for Wednesday's live. So we have this doorway here. So this is just an ivy doorway, green doorway with a lock on it. So a potential prompt, what you guys will do is when I post this later in the Coven and on my blog, you guys can choose which one. So it could be a fairy house, it could be a haunted place, it could be you know, that someone was walking in the middle of a city and they came across this door and what happens when they open it. It could be anything. So, you know, use your imagination. So that is option 1. The other is this one with the girl wearing a key necklace, or, you know, it's not a key exactly. It's like a cross necklace that looks kind of like it could be inspired by like an antique key kind of look to it. But it kind of reminded me of the witch's door kind of key idea with the cross there. So yeah, so secret garden, but it could be anything behind that door. So it could be something scary. It could be something fun and fantasy-like. It could be anything. And then we also have this one as option number 2. So let me know in the comments which one you like better and which one you think would give you better ideas for a story to write on Wednesday. So let's see. I'm going to give you guys just a minute to kind of chime in with this one. So I think we've got a couple of votes for the door, a couple of votes for the girl. So bring me in. So the door or the window, the door or the window, the girl or the door. So number 2 says Lacey. Wordmaster says the door for Caitlin. Let's see, the first one, Sheree. So oh my goodness, we like them both. I could actually post both in the Coven and have you guys just choose like some different prompts if you like them both, because I'm seeing answers for both. People are saying hi, Andrew.
Hi.
They can't see you fully because of the way I have it. Oh, Evie says hi too. So Christabelle says maybe more doors. I'll give you guys just another minute to kind of say. The girl looking at the door through the window. Yeah, that's one way to get them all. So also, before we go, I am going to give you guys the 4th look at piece of the cover reveal, and you're going to start to know for sure. And by sure, on Wednesday, you will start to see part of the title. But this is the next piece of the cover that I'll be revealing on Halloween Day. So this is our 4th.
Run on.
This is our 4th look at the surprise cover that will be revealed on Halloween Day. So another little thing here for you guys to look at. And it's super easy to starting to tell what it is. Once you get it all in one thing, you'll definitely know. Christabelle has a message too that signed book plates are available. There's also a message in the description box here that will be here every time that you guys come to the lives. I'll keep it in the bottom description box for you that has Christabelle's special Gmail that she made for sending out those book plates. So do you have Tech Writer says, I love this crystal in background too. Yeah. So Yeah, just can't imagine what it is. So you guys will definitely see what it is. And I see I think there's two popular guesses as to what it is. And right now it could easily be one or the other, but you will definitely be able to tell by Wednesday because you will see a piece of the title, except that George thinks I should take the title off and just show you guys the image. So we'll see for sure. But Wednesday is going to be super, super fun because we are going to write a story live here, and it's going to be kind of crazy, but it's going to be fun. I don't know which one. I feel like we got more votes maybe for the door than we did to the girl. So I'm just going to post the door and we will see what everybody thinks. So I will post the door to the coven if you have some ideas of a writing prompt. And what I mean by that is to say something that leads me into a story more than just the door. So something like, Laura, a 16-year-old girl, is walking down the street, and she comes across this green door, and behind it, she hears children laughing, or a ghostly sound of children laughing. Or it could be, that she answered a ad in the paper for a job, and she comes up and it's this door. So it could be literally anything. So think about which one you might want it to be. On Friday, I will also be announcing some special things about, Wednesday we'll do the live writing session. And then on Friday, we are going to talk about the upcoming live session after the Spooktacular, what will happen for the next couple of months, what book I'll be reading next, and lots of other things for our schedule coming up. And then Saturday at 4, we will have a bonus live, and it will be a big announcement. And I am going to come in costume. I would love for you to come in costume too. I am going to make some moon dust cupcakes, and we are going to just have kind of a little party, and it's going to be really fun. So lots of great stuff. But Thursday is the official celebration of 10 years since Beautiful Demons, and there will be a pretty big giveaway going on Thursday as well. Even though we won't be live, I will be doing some video and some thank you messages over on my blog and website. So be sure to check that, as well as the community tab here. So you want to say hi? Hi. Yeah, she's saying hi to you guys, and Andrew already did. So I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being a part of our fun Spooktacular. I hope that you're enjoying it. And there are giveaways pretty much every single day over on my blog at sarahcannon.com, as well as in the coven. So if you have not joined our Facebook group, come join us for sure if you are on Facebook, and we're having a fun time in there with some extra memes and games and different things that are going on in there. So come join us there. The link to join us down below, and I will see you guys for a super fun live writing session on Wednesday, and it's going to be great. All right. You want to say goodbye, Evie? Say bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you guys on Wednesday.